What's up, Commanders? Fusebox back on Eternal Evolution, and yep, I'm a total noob, right? I'm new to the game, loving the game, absolutely loving the game, but I'm going to go ahead and start going over some of these heroes, especially heroes that are easy to get and have a lot of value or specific uses in the early game and will still carry into the late game. Most of these heroes are useful. I've already noticed that really, even though some are shunned on, they're still useful. But I want to talk about Sorietta the Star Dragon. He's absolutely crucial early on. He's easy to obtain, and if you just get a couple of extra copies, you've got yourself a very useful champion, at least in certain situations. So let's just kind of dive into why he's useful. Okay, so the nuts and bolts of it is pretty simple. Most of these abilities are going to spawn what they call psionic spheres, right? As you level up his talent tree, these spheres can do things like stun the enemies for 2 seconds, stun them for another second here. And basically what he's going to do, this ability fires a cannonball, knocks everybody back, has a chance to stun. I'm not there yet, but once the talent tree is far enough, knocks them back and stuns them. So if you're really early game, this could actually be useful on the spiders, knocking them back, stunning them, giving your other AoE damage time to do it. This does have splash damage on it. Implosion has an explosion and a secondary explosion once you get the talent. It does decent damage. He's not like the biggest damage dealer in the game, but that's not why you want him. This also creates a psionic sphere, of course. And then this ability takes all these psionic spheres, the ones floating around you that he's creating, and it just bombards the enemy. And that is what is so beautiful about him. Now, when you use this, it also cools down the ability of this, so you can go straight back into creating more spheres. Because once you do this, the spheres are not around you, they're on the enemy, and you want to start creating more. So there's a lot going on. They basically do okay, decent damage, but they do it in tiny little bits all over the place, and that's what's so beautiful about it. All these multiple hits mean even if he's not evolved really high or built really well, the gear I'm wearing is ridiculous. Like, we've got things with, I have a little crit damage, but no crit rate, right? It's the gear I got, right? I just don't have gear. But as of right now, we're in defense, a little bit of attack, but extra defense. This is not good gear. I'm not getting much out of it, but still he can perform. But this is my first legendary hero. It's the first one that I actually got enough copies. He's legendary. I don't know if I'll keep pushing him much harder until later on. Luckily, what you really need him for, it can be done even if he's not built out that strong. And let's just go straight to where this is actually super important, even if he's not built out or in good gear. All right, let's hop into the Disa Caves. This boss, basically you just go in, you start smashing the boss, and then he puts up a shield. There's a little hashtag, you'll see it in a minute. When this shield goes up, you have to tear it down by doing multiple hits, right? And you got to do it fast. You've got to be throwing out a lot of, you're going to want really fast attack speeds on heroes and heroes that have lots of multi-hitters. Probably could get away with summoners that have lots of extra things going on. So I don't know if I'm prepared to take on, oh yeah, it looks like I can actually make a push. So Sorietta's here doing the Lord's work for me, right? And I've got Randall because he does have those shadows. He's pretty quick on his feet. I'm really looking at damage and getting as many hits as I can. Even though we're looking at an AoE damage here, she does put out multiple hits. So it's been working out. We'll try this live, see how this goes. But watch Sorietta, the Star Dragon. Watch how he pretty much, I should be able to leave this on auto as long as the timing's right. That's the only benefit to taking it off of auto is I can save that ability and use it when the shield's up. So you see these white hashtags, right? As we approach them, that's when we're going to have to deal with the shields. So when the shield goes up, we're hoping that we're popping all perfect. Shield's up, 12 hits need to come in, and they need to come in fast. Sorietta is ready to go. Spheres bombarding and flying in, and there's so much happening you barely see it. But whether that's high damage or not, he's tearing that shield down by hitting it so many times. So he pretty much takes care of this entire fight. Everybody else is here for damage. I may be getting to a point I need a healer. So far, I only bring a healer if I need it. That's something we do want to talk about a little bit. So maybe we'll throw in some tips at the end of this. But we're about to have another shield up, so we're looking at this attack bar. We really want that energy bar to come up. So here's the shield, and we're ready. Sorietta's ready, so Otto's working fine, and here he goes. 12 hits, no problem for Sorietta. He's still going, and now she's bringing in some shots. It's gone, right? We've also got these spheres flying around, taking extra ticks. Again, whether it's big or small damage, the rest of the team could do the damage for me. It would be worth putting him in damage gear if you have it available, but I do not. So we just passed the last thing. He's already dead, and that's actually quite simple way. Just bringing him, again, even if he's not strong or built very strong, bring him in to make the push on this. Huge. He could almost take care of it for yourself. And also, if you're wondering who you have, who you want to bring, of course, you hit that. Is it Raiders? Hit Raiders, and it shows recommended heroes. Not always going to be perfect, not always going to be right, but it does show multi-hitters that do an amazing job. Of course, you always want the SSS heroes, right? Don't we all want the triple S heroes? But I'm working with what I got. That's kind of what I do. And I'm really appreciating him and the value he brings here. So because he is evolved so high up to legendary, we'll go ahead and just show him off in a few places. One thing I'm curious about is if we go into the marsh, let's go into here and see if I have somebody I can change him out for. We're wanting AoE damage in the marsh. We'll get into that another day. But you want AoE damage. He does have some AoE damage, and he's not terribly strong here. So let's throw him in and see if he pushes those spiders back. I'm wondering if that's going to mess us up. You know, it's just, is he good in the marsh as he is in Decent Caves? He's pretty much top notch in Decent Caves. Until you have all of the SS heroes and you don't even need him, I think he's going to be on my team till the end of time. So I'm not getting rid of him. So here we are getting, well, they're so far off screen, I couldn't even tell you. But let's watch his damage too. Like, it's not like he's doing shabby damage. Of course, he has evolved past a lot of my other heroes, but he's doing good damage. You can tell I'm bringing in AoE damage, right? AoE damage, I do have one healer, so I can stay alive in case some spiderlings do get by me. But he's doing the Lord's work, right? He is doing the Lord's work in here. But as the spiders come back, we're just wanting to see, is it? I'm wondering if it's a problem when he does attack and knock them back. Because I'm on auto, it's going to be, it doesn't seem to be a problem. It actually might buy us time. It might buy us time. As long as your AoE damage dealers are reaching out far enough, I think we're going to be okay. So let's just enjoy this for a minute.
Taking your time for making the most of it, and it can be a little hard to fit every bit of what you want into your life. You tell me it's fine, you say it's all good. Well, I can sure try, don't know that I should, cause I don't know. It just doesn't seem to feel right. Line up on me, you say. Line up on me, you know. Line up on me, you say. You gotta find your own. That's what I said to my friends. I say it again, yes I know everything. Yes I know.
I tell you what, that's actually really, really solid. I mean, you saw that he was actually keeping up on damage. He was, where we're at, damage here. Yeah, he actually did the lion's share. Now, granted, he is evolved beyond everybody else. That does not mean he's better than Luke. It means Luke isn't even yellow yet, and this guy is already legendary. But he is in worse gear because I put better gear on Luke, so obviously he's doing pretty solid there. I was worried the pushback would be a problem, but eventually the stuns and the pushback could really help you, especially early game. Now, if you're still pushing like me, for sure, early game, it could be very useful. You're going to end up doing speed runs. You're going to get amazing heroes up here, and we're all going to be tearing it up one day. We're going to do it together. But he's definitely good there. And looking at his damage, let me go. I got one more hit on the clan boss. Let's just see quick tip since we're trying him out just to see how he performs. Let's go to the daily challenge. And we'll just try him out in here. Of course, I'm still on the horned lizard, right? I mean, I'm early game. But if that's where you are, we're going to just have him on a team with basically some of my more evolved heroes. I do want to use the attack buff here. I'll just keep the psionic spheres closer to the boss. And we'll just give this a shot. A few tips if you are new. If you don't need a healer, don't bring a healer. If you don't need a tank, don't bring a tank. This team is staying alive in pretty early game gear with no healer, no tank. Until you need it, don't even bring them. Just bring more damage. If you could bring, like, I want to boost attack, whoever's on the road with Randall, things like this. Karmal, he's just evolved really high, so I'm bringing him in for damage. I do like the damage over time that he gets every now and then. So we're definitely doing fine on damage. And yes, Sorietta's doing really respectable damage. Randall's built probably my best built hero right now because his utility works everywhere. We'll go over him soon. But I don't know that this particular boss needs the multi-hits really. But in a horrible build, you saw it. I've got like HP on everything, defense and stuff. He's doing just fine here. He's doing just fine. And for where I'm at, right? I mean, I'm sure, we're all going to be looking back. But, as an early game hero, if you're getting a lot of copies, he's really easy to get. They actually give you a copy along the way. Maybe 2. It might have been 2. That might be why he's my first legendary. But he's worth building for sure. He'll always be probably on your team in Disa Caves. And he will probably carry you until you have all the champions you want for faster runs on the Spider. Super useful champion. I'm totally impressed with the Star Dragon. So far, totally impressed. So yeah, here's another tip. We're doing fine. 2.5 million. If you ever want to see how your team's doing, or if you could do more damage, go here, click retry, and then change a hero and see if that hero does perform better. If we want to take out Karmal and put in, I don't have anybody to really increase my, but if we wanted to real quick do this and just see if this is a better team, we plug it in, and through the magic of editing, I will be back in about 1 minute and 10 seconds to see how it compares. Okay, as we approach the 10-second mark, we had about 2.5 million, and we're just testing a new hero, bringing him in, seeing if his gear, his attack damage is going to match Karmal, who we took out. And this is where you find out, do you need that healer? Take your healer out. If you're not looking good, hit the pause button, retry it. You can put your healer back in, but I suggest trying not to bring tanks and healers and just try to bring as much damage as you can. It's going to be pretty comparable here, I think. Looks pretty close. Let's see, 2.5 at 10 seconds. So we'll probably just let this ride out. It's about the same. But if you're trying to see, does this buffer or debuffer actually increase your damage? Like if I take Luke out and I'm not taking that defense down, I definitely lose damage. I tested it several times. So we're right at about the same amount of damage. We're just going to let this go. In fact, we'll just beat that last second. We'll click right past it. So yeah, that, when you're doing these pretty much any boss, you can stop, retry it after you've seen the damage you've done, or if people are dying, and feel free to go back in and try it with different heroes. But back to Sorietta, I can promise you right now, just from a few days of playing, that Sorietta is going to be worth keeping for the rest of the game at least, and building up, because you're going to want to use him in Disa Caves at the very least. There will be some guild bosses that probably will need those multi-hits, and situations like, I think I've already used my arena fights. Yeah, I believe I already used my arena fights. But the stuns, once he's leveled up a little more for me, the talent tree goes a little further, the stuns might actually be pretty interesting. One thing we didn't talk about is this exclusive. So each sphere actually increases the damage of attack by 40%. The damage of attack. I guess his attack damage. So that's a big boost just by having spheres out. Once you've reached a point, you can use his exclusive ability, Soul Meteor. So definitely worth building and holding on to. Don't feed this guy. I'm glad to have him. There are plenty of heroes I'd rather work on, but I got the copies. Everything was there. I went ahead and took him up to legendary so I could focus on the few heroes that I have that are actually pretty awesome, like the triple S's, right? I got 2 of them. Let me know what you think about Sorietta. If you've been playing a lot longer, am I right? Is he going to be pretty much the go-to for decent caves? Any places that I don't even know about yet, you may know about. Let everybody know in the comments. And thank you for your time. And until next time, enjoy the grind.